First thing we're going to do is we're going to split our page into strips. We're doing this so that we can add patterns into each strip, so they can be different sizes. It's all dependent on your design. We're going to use the resources that you have in front of you, the ones that your teacher have given you, and we're going to draw inspiration from that and add patterns in the same way that Yinka Shonibari adds patterns to his work. Now you're going to add a variety of patterns, so we're going to make sure that each strip has a different one. You can also make sure that when you're adding patterns, you can make larger patterns as well as the small ones. So I'm going to add more strips that have a curve to them in one of my bigger strips. By doing this, I'm adding different elements. I'm going to repeat the pattern, so key element of pattern is repetition, constantly repeating the same shape. You don't necessarily need to use a ruler for this section when you're doing patterns in the middle, but make sure that you're using a ruler for the bigger sections. So we have loads of triangles and zigzag. We have also elements of line, all of which are part of the formal elements that you've been learning about. Make sure that you're being creative. This is your pattern and you can steal inspiration, but it needs to be individual. Using a variety of line and also a variety of shapes and size. So though I've used triangles before, these ones are definitely larger. When it comes to applying your colours, we're going to use really bold colours because that's exactly what the artist that we're looking at does. So I'm going to start with my blues. When I then go on to my next strip, I'm going to skip one to make sure that my watercolours don't bleed into each other. So as you can see, I'm always skipping one strip so that the ones I have done have an opportunity to dry before I go over them again. I'm using both harmonious colours, so colours that are next to each other on the colour wheels, but also complementary colours, so the ones that are opposite each other on the colour wheel. I do this so that I make sure that my work is bold and it also pops out. There is elements of symmetry in my work, so with the red semicircles, they are opposite each other, so that means that they're sort of reflecting. We need to make sure that we are adding elements of symmetry, line, colour, and all the other elements that you've been working with. Make sure you're colouring in every part of your page so that it's really strong, bold patterns and colour. I would make sure to outline each shape first with your brush and then colour in the middle. That's a little tip for you. It makes it a lot easier to be neat, and we want to make sure that we are neat. When you have finished it and your watercolours have dried, we're going to use a fine liner to outline our shapes and patterns. We're doing this again so that our pattern becomes a lot bolder. You need to make sure you're using your ruler when you are outlining your strips, because again, we want to be as neat as possible. That's part of your success criteria. You want to show that you have ultimate control. So go all the way down. All your strips need to be outlined with a fine liner. And when you're adding the fine liner to the patterns, you can do that freehand. But again, we need to be very neat and stay within the lines. You'll be doing this for all of your sections to make sure that it's really bright and bold.